Okay, so my professional interview was with a woman by the name of Alana McKenna. And my interview with Alana lasted roughly 45 minutes, in which I learned a ton of valuable, very special information. And I'm really, excited to have the opportunity to share some of what I learned in this professional interview assignment and share with my fellow classmates. Before I begin, I'm going to be giving a little bit of background information on Alana. So she was born in Alberta. She lived there for the first 19 years of her life, and then she moved here to BC and has stayed here ever since. She went into the ASL and Deaf Studies program and then went on to the interpreting program at Douglas. She specializes in freelance and medical interpreting. Freelance was always her goal. She actually did 2 out of her 3 internships or career placements through Douglas. She did 2 out of 3 in freelance. And it's always what she pictured herself doing. But she, again, has also done some medical interpreting. So I'm going to be starting off by going into some of the basic questions that I asked her. These basic questions are some that we were given by Brenda or for the assignment that we could ask. And then I'll go into some of my own questions that were asked, a few things that surprised me, and then some advice that she gave me. So one of the first questions I asked her were the key skills of interpreting. So she said things like being quick, thinking on your feet, being very organized and being flexible, time management, and people skills. So none of this really came as a big surprise to me. I know we've learned quite a bit about this, not only in BAA, but just when talking about interpreting in general. So all of those key points or key skills, again, nothing surprised me, but I know now to keep those in my back pocket. Next, I asked her some challenges that she faced in her work. The biggest one she said was actually dealing with the unexpected and being able to, quote, roll with it is what she said. And just being confident enough to do the job. So this is something that I personally see myself needing to work on. So it was actually really helpful hearing from an interpreter that this is a challenge that you very well may face, probably will face, and you have to be able to adapt. Adaptability is really, really big, and that's something that I do see myself struggling with a little bit. So I'm excited to be able to work and improve upon this for sure. She also said that the settings can be really, really challenging. It can be mentally taxing. It can be extremely emotional. Seeing and watching and hearing people minimize deaf voices or call people who are deaf, call them dumb for simply not maybe knowing English or not knowing English as well as a hearing person. And then seeing all of that and then having to continue on doing your job. It's hard to be able to take in that information and not jump on it right away, but she talked about wearing that interpreting hat and, having to keep your interpretation going all while witnessing these things and how challenging that can really be. On a lighter note, I asked her what she loves about her work, and the first thing that she said was the people, whether that's the interpreting community or whether that's the deaf community. It's a really amazing group of people that she gets to work with and for. And I personally believe that's really important for myself to really enjoy the people that I'm with in order to, have a fulfilling career. She also said she really likes being her own boss. So as I mentioned, she does a lot of freelance. That's mostly the interpretation that she does. So this allows her to have a better work-life balance. And again, not having to report to anybody. She is the one that makes her own schedule and can take into account when she needs a break or some time to spend with her family and her loved ones. Next, I asked her what would she change about her job, and she said benefits or RSP. She said, again, I chose to do freelance, so that is a personal decision that I made, but she would really appreciate having benefits for doing what she does and recognizes how important that can be. She also talked a lot about changing online work. Ever since the pandemic, doing work online, so interpreting through a computer screen, has become the norm. It's become something that is done quite a bit. She said that she's not very passionate about it. She feels like she's interpreting to a computer screen regardless if someone's on the other end. And she really, really struggles with that. And Alana also mentioned that she would make ASL mandatory from K to 12. This is not necessarily something that you can change about the profession of interpreting, but it perhaps would allow more people to learn the language and learn about deaf culture, which ultimately might mean more access for deaf people, and then less interpreters are needed. And that's something that she standed very firm on. The last question I asked from the list that we were given in class was her learning journey in terms of allyship. So Brenda paired me up with Alana because I do see myself doing freelance interpreting, but also because Brenda said she saw similarities between my learning journey in terms of allyship and Alana's and how she got to where she is. And for me, that is arguably more important than talking about the actual job of interpreting. So this question I was really, really excited to ask her. And, it was kind of funny. The first thing Alana said to me was, I don't know how to answer this question. She quite literally said, quote, "It's a way of life. You learn to become an ally to various communities and it changes who you are." So I thought that was really, really powerful. So I wrote that down. I wrote that quote down from our interview. And that's part of the reason why I actually want to go into this profession, is to challenge myself and to see new perspectives, to become more open-minded, and to learn how to become a better ally. And her and I talked a lot about how it's not just a class that you take and then can tick a box. And I know we've spoken about that in class before as well. But it's true. You don't just become an ally from going through a course for 10 months. It's something that always evolves. And that's something that she said again. It changes who you are. And for me, I think having a career that I can, have fun in and excel and do well at, but also fundamentally resonates with me and allows me to grow as a human is really, really important. So this was a really powerful topic in our conversation, and I'm really happy to have learned what I did from her. She did also compare about her upbringing, which she said was in a small redneck town in Alberta. And a lot of the people there, including some of her friends and family, just don't hold the same values that she does. She talked about a zero tolerance policy in her house, no isms in her house. There's no room for that, to the point where she's literally kicked people out of her own house. So it changes who you are, it changes your values, it changes your perspective, and it truly does allow you to work on yourself. And that's pretty cool, in my opinion, to have a career that can change you, who you are fundamentally for the better. That's something that just makes me really eager to go into interpreting.